Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as I welcome up on stage the moderator of the next session, the program manager at Microsoft. Please make welcome Omojo Anwuzia. Next up, we have our panelists. We have product leader Layo Ogunbanwo. Please put your hands together for her as she comes up on stage. I called her ma'am multiple times. She threatened to take off my head, so I would never do that again. Thank you so much, Layo. You've been absolutely amazing. Thank you for being here. Next up, we have Head Credits and Finance Control at Spleet. Please put your hands together for Karen Abah. Guys, come on. We can do better. I know we're tired, but it's the last push. These guys are going to give you insights that will transform your life from what it is now. And when you look back in the next 5 years, you'll be glad you came, you'll be glad you waited. So please, let's get excited. All right. And finally, of course, we have Principal Corporate Strategy for the Venture Garden Group, Dara Osibo, ladies and gentlemen. Please put your hands together. If you're a founder, you better clap very well. I know what I'm saying. All righty. This session is building a product for the African markets. And I know what you're saying. Oh, I'm just a product manager, or I'm not a product manager. Oh, I don't really work with the product. But I think everyone that works in a startup has a role to play in how the product comes out. Marketing, design, whatever it is you do in a startup, your work is absolutely important. That's why we're here. You are the MVP. So you need to understand holistically how to build a product for this particular market that we operate in. All right, now I'm going to hand off to our moderator. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I want, Layo, I was going to say man, was so close, but I stopped. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our panel. Thank you very much. And now I leave you in the hands of Omojo. Have a great one.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Are we having a great time here? Are we learning, networking, and gaining new insights? Okay. So we're going into a very crucial and important topic, discussing building a product for the African market. I think it's really important because a lot of us want to scale our startups. So we're going to learn from our amazing panelists on how to go about that. But let's just let's get to meet you very quickly. You take turns in telling us about yourselves, and then we'll go right in.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I just passed it here.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Layo Ogunbanwo. I have about, I think, 12 to 13 years experience building products across Africa, Latin America, and the US. Most recently, head of product for Piggy Tech. Done product as well at New Bank in Brazil, and then at a healthcare tech startup in the US.
Hi everyone, my name is Karen Abah and I am head of credit at Spleet Africa currently. Before that, I worked in VFD Group as project manager for VBank. I'm not really a product manager. I've worked more with projects and finance.
Hi everyone, my name is Dara. I guess I spent similar time, so probably about 13 years building fintech products. Started off in finance. I've done a public sector stint, which I'm proud of. And I think I spent the last 7 years building companies, also investing in companies as well. So looking forward to the rest of the panel.
Okay, so you can hold the mic.
Sure.
So that I just ask you my first question, which I believe will be the question on a lot of our minds. So please share your experience with us regarding building products in Africa. I'd like to add to that. Now, if you've had products that you had to scale into multiple or other countries in Africa, please share with us the key takeaways that you had to factor in while doing that.
Okay. I guess first things is yes, I've had the experience of building products in different markets. Part of my job is to build products in 5 different markets. 2 of them are African, the Middle East, the US, and the UK. I think for me, the biggest learning is that tech is hard, people are harder, products are the hardest because you are building products for people. People are always changing, right? More importantly, I think the biggest skill I've taken away, I would call customer segmentation. I hear this all the time. When I speak to someone, they're like, hey, my product is for people that live in Lekki. I'm like, okay, I hear you, but last time I checked, Lekki won, and the guys that build those large 7-bedroom houses in Chevron, they're not exactly the same. They might look like they're the same. Maybe a better example is like in Ikoyi, you have both Obalende and you have Banana Island. They're not the same people. So coming back to your product, it's literally like the same thing. When you're trying to build, you need to know who you're building for. As you go country to country, the guys in Nigeria, the guys in Kenya, very different, right? Even something as simple and as modern as travel. Travel is kind of universal. But in Nigeria, how people pay, how they want to pay, how they want to access the service. In Kenya, very different. So there's just a lot of those nuances there. But literally, I guess everything is hard. And that's the important thing. Regulation also, this year, I guess in the last 2-3 years, I know that I've personally had to shed some tears, I think in 2022. Regulation changed twice on me in 90 days. So, you had a business that was literally earning $1 billion a year, and it went to 0. It literally, you woke up one day, you saw an email, and it was how quickly could the revenue drop down to 0 in 30 days, right? And then you spend time rebuilding, buying a new license, they switch it again, and then it drops to 0, and then you're coming back, so it's hard.
Okay, thank you. Please pass it on. I mean, we have more questions so that we can draw more from what you've said. And I mean, it's amazing because Africa, according to United Nations, 1.4 billion in terms of population. That's huge. Africa has 54 countries, over 3,000 languages. So I really get that, and we would really want to know more. So my next question is this. What would you love for founders to understand about product development in Africa? Right? And what's the biggest advice for early stage startups that are still in the building phase of their products? So we have product managers here, we have researchers here, we have even content writers, etc. Startups founders are also here. We need key takeaway regarding this. So do you want me to repeat my question? Okay, great.
Okay, so before I answer, please, I gave a disclaimer. I'm not a product manager. Let's start from there. Yes, so from my angle, I would say it's very important that you stick to the initial reason or the initial problem you were trying to solve when you came up with the product in the first place. When you start building a product, what happens is as it starts to unravel, sometimes you start seeing how it can make money more than how it can solve the problem. And sometimes that's 2 different directions. So most people, obviously, you would go with how it will make you money. And then you forget that at some point you stop solving the problem. So I think that it's important people remind themselves at every step of the process that this is the initial problem I was trying to solve, and ask yourself, am I still solving this problem or am I chasing something else? I think that's what I would say from my end.
Thank you very much. She's telling us to hold the problem we're trying to solve tightly and maybe every other thing loosely so we don't lose sight of what we're trying to solve. So Layo would add more to us.
So yeah, I think I slightly disagree, but what I think my own POV would be to deeply understand your customer, right? So who you're actually building for or who you're solving for, because a lot of times we have an idea of what we think they want or what we think their problem is. We need to spend time, a lot of time really, with the problem, right? It sometimes as PMs we can be very solution driven or solutions first. I like to be problem first, like actually get very intimate and deep with the problem, because once you understand the problem, the solutions will come naturally to you or come easier to you. So I think that would be my biggest thing, what takeaway with just founders is spend more time understanding the problem, spend more time understanding why this is actually a problem, why the customer goes through this, what you get, like just get very deep into like their psyche, because sometimes you'd actually find out that you don't need to build like some super technical technology to solve the problem. It's maybe just, I don't know, piecing things together for them. And yeah, but then I also think that as you solve the problem and as you're very clear on the problem, sometimes you might have to pivot, and that's not a bad thing. As long as, again, you're being very honest with yourself about what you're solving for and who you're solving for.
Thank you very much. Dara, would you like to add to that?
Maybe I'll just take a slightly pessimistic view. I think one thing I would say to founders that are building products is try and focus on the self. And self means that try and work past the ego. This year, I think from a mentee standpoint, I've had so many product managers complain about lack of structure, all the things that right? But I think one of the things you find out is that you have a lot of junior product managers who are, maybe it's not the right manager managing them. And so what you see is today we're building spaceship, tomorrow we're building Abah, the next day we're building, something else, right? So I'm saying to those founders, and there are a lot of people this year that are like, hey, you know what? I don't want to work in startup anymore. Let me go and work in some mature company, even though those same things are there. But it's also saying to the founders, like, focus on yourself, focus on your people. Your people will get you there, but you cannot, if you, I don't know how to say this, if you press Capri Sun, you're still going to get Capri Sun, you're not going to get champagne. So you need to get your people right so that they can actually, when you put pressure on them, they can give the right kind of products, right? So I know that when you're starting out, you're just focused on the go, but this is super important if you want to build a sustainable product or business.
Thank you very much. Are we learning? Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so I'm moving on to the next question that I have, which is, how can businesses leverage partnerships to drive market penetration and product distribution? Because, to scale, partnership will be very important in getting us there. So how can we leverage these partnerships? In your experience, in what areas have you had to leverage partnership? So please just spoon feed us with that information.
So maybe I'll start off. For me, partnership is it's key. I'm a lazy person. I love being lazy, which means that I don't want to go out and struggle for something that somebody else already has and can give me. So if a bank has, like in Nigeria, most banks have 2 million, 10 million, 20 million customers. Should I go and fight for the same customer that the bank already has? or let me go and find a way to partner with them, right? And so because I'm lazy, I don't want to spend 100 hours under the sun. I'd rather go and spend those 100 hours convincing someone that I'm the best person to partner with, and there's a value exchange. So what I see a lot of times is we don't understand our own value that we're bringing to the table, so it's hard for people to have that conversation. But trust me, I mean, I'll give you examples. This year, I've even got a Microsoft to sell for me, right? And we didn't get there one day, but it also means that now when I want to go to people that I can't go to, I just say, hey, Microsoft, this person's your customer, right? I need an introduction. And they take me into that room. It's the same thing with banks, right? You want to do something in a new country, you know, there's no point going there to go and get the license. I'm like, bank, we're already friendly in Nigeria. I want to go to Kenya, or I want to go to this country. You have a subsidiary there. How can we make this magic, right? Maybe in Nigeria, I'm only give you 20% of the business. In that new country, I'm happy to give you 100%, right? So for me, it's like, why work harder? Let's work smarter. So it has taken years to be able to build this skill set, but I think people have to start today, and it's just an easier way for your business, your product to fly.
Thank you very much for that. Mic check. Thank you very much for that. And my last question will be this. For products in North America, in Europe, like what are the key differences with those kind of products and with those in African tech ecosystem? I mean, it's free for anyone.
So I think it depends. I think it depends on like what type of product is it. It is. Is it hardware? Is it software? You know. Yeah. So like I think you
Okay.
need to give more specifics.
All right, so maybe I'll put it this way for you to draw from your own experience in building products in these different markets. I know Dara also mentioned building products in North America. For the products you've built in these multi-continental industries, what have you figured out to be the difference between their product and our product? Maybe also in the context of key takeaways that we can learn. Does Africa still need to do some catching up? Or are there some hints there we need to import over or export there as well?
Okay, so I'll just, again, not to give you a very PM answer, but I think it depends. Exactly, it depends on what you're like looking at, because in some regards, some would say that Africa is miles ahead in some certain technologies, like so, like with transfers, we're ahead of the US. Right? So, but like in other regards, we're probably like lagging behind. So it depends on what it is that we're trying to compare. In my personal experience, though, so like when I moved back to Lagos in 2018 and I joined PiggyVest, one of the things that I had to do then was take off my American hat and like try to adopt a Nigerian one because I was now building for Nigerians, right? And the things that motivate us and the things that matter to us are different from what mattered to me then in America. All of us sitting here, you know, compared to like your average, because none of you guys are average Nigerians, but like the average Nigerian, how he or she thinks is also very different, right? So with trying to understand that better and, you know, trying to, you know, stay true to our mission at PiggyVest, trying to give people the power to, you know, better manage their finances. It's okay, what matters to the students in university? What matters to the mom that just has a child? What, you know, just trying to understand all of those different points. What that meant was, again, spending time with all of them, speaking to them, learning from them, and not trying to impose my own personal biases, my own personal thoughts about how I think they should act, right? I think across the world, like everybody customers are very different. So I think you just have to spend time really just like learning your customers, right? That's, I think, would be my own thing.
Okay. So I think that, so based off of what Layo says, it's also, like she said, important to know even things like cultural differences. So in Nigeria, for instance, some people are not, we don't adapt as easily to change as a lot of other places. We adapt to hardship, but we don't adapt to change where like technology is concerned. Some people still prefer to put money under their beds, all those kind of things. So when you're thinking of that, you're thinking some places in other, like in other countries, they adapt better. So when you're building something for Nigeria, you're thinking, how can I make it so that they trust me, so that they trust what I'm doing, because we don't trust as easily as a lot of people in other places. So those are the things you want to think about. Like here you might be thinking of how safely can I get my payments across without somebody intercepting it. There, they do the payments and they go. They're not thinking of anything else. So there's a lot of that as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, very hard question. So many dimensions. I think Lion made a very good point that I always forget. We have instant payments in Nigeria. They don't have it in the US. And it baffles me because this is the same country that's bringing out AI technology, but does not have instant payments, which is something that we have. And we complain about every Salah, every time it goes down, right? Every Friday. Well, not anymore. But I think from a product perspective, historically, apps from or products from the US and the Europe typically were a lot more polished. They had all those, like, everything felt like butter, right? And I think it was a concerted effort. Now I'm seeing, if I compare it to maybe 2015, I'm seeing products now look more holistic. You can see a Nigerian product where, within like 3 seconds signing up, the marketing pipeline kicks in. You are seeing the YouTube how-to videos, etc. And we're getting there, right? But like also mentioned by my fellow panelists, that's probably for like the 1%, right? There's still a lot of products in our market that are targeting people that don't have access to financial services, targeting other problems that might not really be as prevalent in the US and the UK and Europe, etc. Then I would also say from like a maybe regulation standpoint, the US is very fragmented. When you want to roll out a service, you need to go and get a license in every single state, right? Whereas in Nigeria, it's like CBN has given my license. Okay, Nigeria. Europe is like, okay, you have this thing in Europe. Okay, so there's some fragmentation. There's some advantages, disadvantages. But I think for me, it's also a case where B2C in the US and Europe has like enjoyed this limelight. I'm seeing now that there's more of a shift to B2B. Maybe I'm just B2B biased, by the way. So I think B2C is very hard. So I don't do B2C. So kudos to those people that do it. But I'm seeing a shift where kind of more B2B products are kind of coming center stage as well. And I'm waiting to see that in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. So this sums it all for the questions that I have. And I'm just wondering if any of you have a closing thoughts on this session. Thank you very much. Let's appreciate our panelists. This will be all. Thank you, Layo. Thank you, Karen. And thank you, Dara.